my life. And though it's new, your image cuts me like a knife. And I'm home, and I'm home, and I'm home to stay.
Bruce Tench, Larry Lawson,
Okay.
Randy Shaw.
Tom Pena.
Bill
I
Black.
did. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, Bill Black.
Sid Templeton.
John Canasaw.
Jerry Cope. David Dunham.
and Oscar Houchins.
Who was the original core group? Okay. And okay, now next, who replaced who? I just kind of want to do this little history, go through history. Who replaced who after this?
Well, Jerry replaced me.
Yeah, but actually Bill replaced
Oh, first.
Cooper
History.
first.
First Cooper
Yeah.
Hawthorne.
and then
I had nothing to do with it.
You,
and then
you
I replaced
Larry.
Larry.
Yeah.
And
And then Tommy Pena replaced me.
Oh, then I replaced Oscar.
Yeah. No, Oscar
No,
came
no,
later.
no. Jerry replaced me.
Well, first of all, I replaced Bill, I think, right?
Sort of.
Sort of.
I moved to guitar and
Well,
you
we
went
have
to
editing.
keyboard.
All right, who started this whole madhouse? Who was the key knuckleheads that started this whole thing?
Raise your hand, Bruce.
Okay. You guys got any? How did this whole thing start? I mean, way back when you're
High
in
school.
high school.
High school.
High school.
High school. Early high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bruce had a band, and they were called the Blue Diamonds, and yeah, Blue Diamonds. And we were both in high school. I was doing a variety show in the high school. We had a little band in the variety show. A couple of the guys knew Bruce. When we played together in the high school show, I was the drummer. They were in need of a drummer, or they had just fired their drummer or something, and they asked me to join the group. And Bruce will have to take it from there.
Well, I think the interesting thing about that era was the Golden Triangle is such a rich hub, but it's all kind of a self-contained hub, and all the musical influences were coming obviously from with outside. And there was a very rich era in the music world, and so living here as we did, we realized, hey, those guitars were good, and we can buy those clothes and look good, and suddenly we can play like we're in the band, and that's where we started.
You guys all grew up in the Golden Triangle, or is everybody from this area at least, or not?
No.
No,
Not
all.
born and raised.
Okay, and
Myself and David Dunham back here were
Okay.
born and raised and been childhood friends in Lafayette, Louisiana since we were in grade school together.
okay, you're in Louisiana. What is everybody's roots here? I mean,
I was born and raised in the Golden Triangle.
okay. As far as musical roots, what did you guys listen to back then?
I can tell you, I listened
45s.
to. Yeah, that's right.
The
45.
little
of
records
them.
with the big holes in them.
That's right.
You name
Screaming
it.
Jay Hawkins,
We listened
Little Richard, Chuck Berry, the Diamonds. That's when I really got into wanting to write music, when I listened to the Diamonds. Little Darling was the song. And of course, obviously the Beatles as I got more mature.
Well, yeah, they came later. A lot of us, I'd say this whole area is pretty much R&B roots or soul roots. And I think we all kind of grew up playing that kind of music, pretty much, being from this area. Everybody did or you didn't play. So, and then everything evolves. It's called evolution, and that's what happened. So.
So you learned to play the region's music and
Oh yeah.
and
David and I played horns in a horn band for years before we ever came up on this band. I actually moved away and came back, and then David came. Well, you'll hear that story later, how I got in the band.
Randy and I played with Eddie Raven and the Glades.
Yep.
Of course, Eddie Raven went on to become a country star.
Big country star.
what were the lean years like back in the day when you're just punk kids and trying to?
Skinny, you mean?
We were all pretty skinny.
Musically and financially, what were those years like? Just gigging
Well,
around.
before David and I played together, I played with a couple other bands that I'd, when I was really young. And I remember playing, we would have to play from 9, well, David and I did this together too. We'd play from 9 to 1 at one place and go from 1 to 5 at the other, 9 to 12 at one place and 1 to 5 at the other. We played 2 places a night. We'd usually come home with $6. But that was Fat City.
Oh, man,
that was a lot of
I made
money.
all the money then.
That was all the money.
I made all the money. I played at the Turf Tide Inn.
Oh,
Down
turf
in-
tied in.
Yeah,
I know
down
that
in
place.
Freeport, Texas, behind Chicken Wire. Shades of the Blues Brothers.
So the bottles wouldn't get
Made
through.
$8 a night. I thought I was rich.
You were rich.
I was 15.
We always play behind chicken wire in Louisiana. You have to play behind chicken wire in Louisiana, otherwise you don't survive. That's all there is to it.
I think the prevailing scenario back in that day, and I think everyone will agree, was that it was a dance. We went to play dances.
Yeah.
And if you didn't play dance music, you didn't get a job, and the people didn't come to hear you, or they didn't come. So everything was evolved around
Dan.
guys smelling Aquanet in their girlfriend's hair.
Amen.
Who was the original group was called the Sandpipers, correct?
No, the original group was called the Roustabouts.
Oh, the Roustabouts. I'm
Roustabouts.
pardon me. Iggy, he's gotten into more of the history than I have.
Yeah.
I apologize. So tell me about that, the evolution of the name of the band.
Of the Roustabouts?
Yeah, we'll start with the Roustabouts.
Oh my goodness. Well, Bruce and I were in a group with, it was a 5-piece group, and the 5-piece group kind of split off, and Bruce and I and one other person was the genesis of all this stuff. We were looking for somebody to fill a gap, and we found Larry. Larry filled the gap very well.
And not only that, led us way forward.
Yeah. And we were still the Roustabouts then when Larry was with us. And then Larry found some other people that he knew. Larry, take it from there.
Well, at that point, I realized that we need more of the group, and I was a music major at Lamar, and I was playing in the Lamar Tech band with David. And so I asked David to come join the band. He did. It fit like a glove. At that point, I think we needed a really strong lead guitar player at that point.
That's right.
And I found Cooper Hawthorne. Cooper was also going to Lamar. He was an ATO, playing at an ATO party that I had gone to. So I went and stole Cooper from the ATO band and asked Cooper to come see us. And we all thought Cooper was great. And voila, Cooper became our lead guitar player. And at that point, Bruce moved from lead over to bass. And, it was perfect. It was just it's like it couldn't have happened any better. And then at that point, I was carrying most of the leads in the band. We were all singing some, but I was carrying the load. And I knew I wasn't a lead singer, and I talked to David. And David said, "Hey, I've got a friend in Louisiana. His name's Randy Shaw." I said, "Get him over here." So we got Randy Shaw over here, and it was just one of those things. Hey, you want to? You want to? I want to. You want to?
that's
I
right.
want to. Yeah. I think we want to. Let's go. Giddy up.
So the timing was just right.
Timing was
Yeah.
perfect.
For that core
Yeah.
5 member.
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
just come back to Louisiana, and I'd met back up with David. I'd been up in Washington State going to college and playing in bands up there. And when I got back in town, of course, David and I were childhood friends, and he had moved to Texas, but we still got in touch. And he says, "Well, I got this band over here, in Port Arthur Needle area," he says, at the time, in Beaumont, whatever. He says, "You need to come listen to them. They like you to come sing a little bit with them and see how that works out." So I said, "Sure." So I went and visited David for the weekend. We went and sang, and everybody went, "This is synchronicity." It all worked. So I'd actually sat in with, and played a little bit with some other bands when I'd first come back because I love to play music, but I hadn't made a commitment yet. So it was great. Worked out awesome. So.
I think another important thing that Larry did also, excuse me, David, was with Larry's involvement with Lamar University. We were still all in high school. Larry had the business foresight to bring a manager into the band. You want to talk about that, Larry?
Oh, sure. During this period of time, I think before Randy got involved even, I think, I saw the need to have a manager for the group. And I knew this guy named Bill Stringer. And Bill had a good level head on his shoulder and was a kind of a business management kind of guy anyway. And he was messing around with booking bands and so forth, so I brought Bill into the group as our manager. And Bill Stringer was a very much an integral part of the growth of this group.
Absolutely.
And the success of this group, because Bill took one of those, what was the Beatles manager's name?
Brian Epstein.
He kind of took a Brian Epstein approach to this group. And boy, did we need it? Did we appreciate it? You betcha.
And Bill was an ex-Marine.
Yeah.
That was a key quality of his personality.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know that from the bad side of that. I used to miss practice and go surfing in Galveston, and I only did that once. And after Bill lifted me up and put me against the post and said, "Don't ever miss practice again," I didn't.
He was a big guy.
But the waves were good that day.
They were good waves.
It's always worth it, though.
It was worth it.
Bruce didn't just look like a surfer, he was a surfer.
I was a surfer.
He almost killed me one time.
I missed
like
high
that.
school. I
You
missed
remember
band
that when you
practice.
took me out?
Yeah, yeah.
I had blisters on my back for about a week.
You're not supposed to ride on your back. You're supposed to
No, I was
From
from
the
paddling
sunburn.
back out. That's from missing a wave. You see, if you're surfing, you don't get them like that. But if you're paddling out and paddling out, that's how I got mine. Thank you. I wasn't very good at the beginning. I got better later.
When did it become the Sandpipers?
Soon after that, that was
About
that was the
66.
basic.
66, yeah.
That was the basic group, the Roustabouts, and we said, well, we need a new name.
Yeah, the evolution of that, David,
Right.
was because of the oil industry here. We kind of personified that with the band name, thus the rest of us. But
Were you guys writing any music at that time?
Not really.
Very little.
no, like I said, we were successful because we played dance music.
I wrote music, but we didn't really do it that much in the band. It wasn't good enough, that's why.
That's not
But
true.
the band as a whole didn't write music.
No.
And then, so you guys just basically gigged around playing dance halls and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
No,
No
no bands wrote their own music in those days. You played what the people wanted to hear.
That's exactly
That was
right.
the hits.
Yeah.
Nobody wrote their own music in those days. I mean, until the British invasion and all that, everybody started saying, whoa, maybe we should write some music.
You know, we really weren't playing dance halls. We were playing teen clubs.
Clubs.
Teen
schools.
clubs and schools
Schools.
and
Schools.
private parties. But in
Country
the,
clubs.
But in the beginning, it was like the teen club circuit. And there was a real circuit in the Gulf Coast area of teen clubs.
Okay. And then you guys progressed to, you did that for a while. How many years did you guys
gosh.
go around?
For about another year.
Another year.
Until the Clique.
And then,
Well, that's when we won the Battle of the Bands.
That's right.
A big Battle of the Bands. We had won some small ones, but this was the K-News one. And because of that, we got a recording contract or an offer for one. And at that time,
But,
we
had to find a new name because the group, the Sandpipers, recorded Guantanamera, became a national hit, so we needed to change our name.
exactly.
oh, so it was, you were,
We had already
Essentially
worked
forced.
on already worked on Splash One and hadn't put it out yet. And but once we knew we were going to put it out, there was a conflict in names, copyright conflict. So we said, okay, whatever. So then we went through like 1,000 names. I liked the one Speelunkers, but nobody went along with me there. I thought
That was a good decision.
I thought Cave Dweller was a good thing.
And ZZ Top was taken, so.
I know. ZZ Top.
so what?
Not then, it was moving sidewalks.
Yeah. ZZ was the moving sidewalks then.
What clicked about the name The Clique?
Short.
Short, to the point. Actually, we were a little concerned about it, but everyone knew what a clique was, which a clique of people is a close-knit group, and that's what we went with the definition. Unfortunately, it's a French word, and the real pronunciation is clique, but not in Texas. It's clique.
Good.
Which was good. I like that, because we didn't want to be called the clique.
No.
Hi, we're the clique. No, wasn't going there.
Then did you start writing music, or at what point did you start at least writing, just entertaining the thought of writing some songs? and
Well, we needed a flip
introducing
side for Splash One, our first record, and Larry wrote the flip side of that. So he was the first one in the group that really started writing for us.
And did they made an album, right? Both those songs did. They made the album.
No.
You guys
Not
essentially-
original.
Not
No.
originally.
Those were our we had 245s and then the album release, but actually we had a couple of 45s before the album release. So I'll explain that all to you if you want. But
Well, there's some history there. We
Yeah.
first recorded on a local label called Cinema. We, as Randy mentioned a while ago, after winning the Battle of the Bands, we had this offer to record locally for Walt Andrus of Andrus Productions, and you know, being the young kids that we are, that's your dream, is to record. So we jumped at it. We recorded locally with Cinema Records, and it was the best hit that they had on Cinema up until that date, for sure. Shortly after that, about a few months after that, Walt was successful in getting Scepter Records to distribute that record nationally. So we went to the Scepter label. I would say it was probably 6 or 8 months after that, Scepter began putting our music on their label and distributing nationally. And we were really pleased about that because Scepter was the home of B.J. Thomas, Burt Bacharach, Dionne Warwick. So we felt like we were really beginning to step up in the world.
Yep.
And then after that, and I'll let you guys take it from here, but after that we did another song called
Love Ain't
Easy. But that wasn't recorded by the group. That was recorded by studio musicians in Nashville or Memphis, and Randy did the voices, and he can tell you a lot more about that.
yeah. It was at Chip's Moment Studio, an American studio in Memphis, which had put out more hits than anybody at the time. Anybody that knows music knows Chip's Moment at that time was the guru. Okay, after the Elvis thing with Stax and all that, then it became Chip's Moment, American studios. Had a unique sound, and so Walt said, "Randy, I want you to fly with me to Memphis. We're going to use, their studio, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna use studio musicians to lay down the basic tracks, and we're gonna come back here and add stuff later," and that's what we did. And it actually was a turntable smash. Unfortunately, Scepter released it to the radio stations first, and the radio stations were our friend. They loved the Clique. I mean, we were like anytime they needed an interview, we were there. Anytime they needed anything, we were their boys. They loved us. We were like their Beatles for local guys.
And a lot of airplay too.
A lot of airplay, tons. And what happened was the record Love Ain't Easy came out way after that they had released it to the Jocks and everything. The Jocks made it a #1 turntable hit, and Splash One had been #1 in every venue around here, and not just this state, but other states as well. So we were kind of like a regional major hit group with Splash One. So they were looking for a next hit. So when Love Ain't Easy came out, it's a very good song, and it really played well, but there were no records in the stores. So the distribution went sour on us. So what happened was we got in a big conflict with Walt and me and Scepter. I mean, I was saying, what's happening here? Because I was calling those guys, don't play it yet. So there was nothing I could do about it. I was just a singer. It didn't matter. But you have no say so. Not at those days, none. So the whole point was, because of that, we ended up going away from Scepter. It was a #1 turntable hit, and when a kid goes in those days, I mean, we're talking about the '60s. You had your dollar that you got for allowance, and you went and you got a 99-cent record. If our record wasn't there, then they would buy somebody else's. They went one time. That's what they felt like. I came to buy the Clique record. Oh, it's not in. Okay, well, how about B.J. Thomas's record, or how about whatever? And that's what happened. So then it evolved from there, and because of the poor distribution and stuff, we kind of got to break our contract with Scepter, and we were picked up by White Whale, a new label. And White Whale was...
Well, there's a good. I'm sorry, Randy.
Yeah, go ahead.
No,
Ian, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that the good side of all this was how the band began to evolve in terms of our appearances.
Right.
Because we suddenly began to move away from dances, which we actually loved to do.
Yeah.
A, we had fun. B, the audiences had fun. But we kind of began to slowly merge into more of a concert scenario, and therefore the band became more of a show band. So not only did you come hear the Clique, but you suddenly came to see the Clique.
Right.
So we had an obligation to put on a show. We'd lose 15 pounds with every show we did,
So we're looking forward to that tonight. All of us.
30.
And then just to round this point up, and then what happens is currently even in the music business, when the big acts come through any regional area, they marry them with the best local talent. And we got called in on many. These guys can help me elaborate, but many big names that came through this area, which was shocking in hindsight, like Dave Clark 5. I mean, from the Ed Sullivan Show to Needleton, Texas, go figure that one. And many more. The Association and Grassroots and on and on.
Yeah, on and
George
on.
Carlin,
George Carlin.
George Carlin, all kind of people. Yeah.
Hereford
Big-
Bramish.
Yeah.
Everything.
John Biner.
John Biner.
Bubba Boudreaux.
Bubba was great. Bubba was great.
I loved Bubba. Bubba was good.
Was it at this time that groups, those little small groups, ZZ Top, I think they were called? Is that about
They were
the time
called
that-
the moving sidewalks. Actually, there was times that they opened for us years ago, and at some college venues or whatever we did. There's a couple of times I remember that.
Yeah, there was
vaguely.
a little tiny club in Port Neches
Right.
called the Town Club.
Okay.
It's now an automotive shop.
Right.
And a little white building on Main Street, Port
Groves,
Neches.
actually.
Groves, thank you, Bill.
Groves.
And Bill Ham had just been hired as the manager, and they had just found Dusty Hill in Dallas. And so Bill Ham did the right thing, put the new band with a hot band, which was us. Well, they were our opening act. We were back in the dressing room. We heard the thunder from the stage. I went out front and I stood. I never forget this to this day. I stood in front of Dusty Hill at the Town Club in Groves, Texas, listened to that thunder and realized I would never be a bass player the rest of my life. And I said, "That's a bass player,"
That's a.
and I don't regret that. He's a bass player.
Oh goodness, where does that take us to then, timeline wise?
Well,
I think what
that takes to the changes, and you kind of started that, Larry.
Yeah.
Or I think you did.
Well, after the success of Splash One and Love Ain't Easy, the band just kept maturing as a group. We kept maturing financially as well. Our gigs went from literally $350 a night on the average, $400 a night, to as much as $2,000 a night. And gosh,
In those days, that was unheard of.
Oh, it was like a godsend. It's like, God, this doesn't happen to everybody. We knew that something special was really happening. And in June or July of 1968, I made a decision to leave the group. At that same time, Cooper Hawthorne, who's not with us today, and somewhere out there, we'd like to discuss
Yeah,
that.
I will.
Okay. And Cooper Hawthorne at that time decided, it's time for me to exit as well. And that's when the transitioning of the group began. And this was, as I said, mid-year 1968. And that's when I was replaced by Sid Templeton, and Cooper was replaced by Bill Black. And at that point, I exit the group, and they've become rich and famous.
Not yet, Larry.
Where did it all go? Where did it all go?
I missed both of those.
I missed that part, buddy.
Well, that actually ties back in with the point that I was making a while ago. When we originally signed up for this music, it was kind of fun and games, and
Then it
we
became
were
a
just
business.
enjoying having fun, and then it turned into, hey, we're enjoying having fun and making money, and then enjoying having fun, making money, and traveling. And then suddenly it got to another level.
Very
and then we
demanding.
realized maybe that's what we didn't sign up for in the beginning. And so we had obligations with college, and we had obligations with girlfriends and family. And I was dating a girl, Amy Smith, at the time, that I wanted to marry. And I knew if I went to Hollywood that wouldn't happen. So I made the right choice and left the band. And at that point, Tommy stepped in for me and never looked back. Did a great job.
And close to the time when Bruce left, I left also as on the drums, and Jerry took my place. Jerry Cope behind me.
And at about the same time, I left, about the time Bruce and John did, and Oscar replaced me on the keyboards, although I was a guitarist because Sid switched to guitar at that point.
Okay, Okay, now that I'm completely thoroughly confused. Who of the
Hello.
four?
I
Are
have
you
it.
the last one that's left, basically, at this point?
No, and David.
Me and
David.
David. Me and David. Him back there.
Okay. So where do we go from here then? These guys exit stage left, and you guys pretty much carry on the torch for the Clique.
Because Sid, Jerry, and I had played in the group called Lavender Hour, and with Mike Teague and Steve Headley. And Steve had quit. We'd gotten a new guitarist, Ronnie Swanky, and things were going fairly good, but weren't. We just kind of
It
knew we
wasn't
were
the
in
same.
college also, and back then you had to go to college or you got drafted. And Vietnam was a real
Only
deal.
reason we went. No, I'm
And
just
yeah,
kidding.
so I mean it was real. Guys that we knew were coming back, not pretty.
Body bags.
And so we hung in college, and Sid had gone to the Clique, and these guys were getting ready to leave, and Randy had come to see us in Alvin, I believe, play his
Yeah.
Lavender Hour.
Right.
And little did I know it was an interview, that later we would be invited.
I was
to come.
incognito.
Yeah, yeah. He wore sunglasses.
I
at
wore
the time.
sunglasses. I was going.
So we didn't know who he was.
Who are
at
you?
all. So
Let
anyway,
me look at you. Let me look at you.
I know, but you still look good. You look marvelous today.
Especially your teeth.
But
See your teeth, boy.
but Jerry and we all had played together, and what had happened is the Lavender Hour got together because Sid and
Rayfield Hansen and Steve Headley.
had gotten together in high school, some kind of talent show,
It was
right?
a talent show.
Right.
Everybody's going to do a talent show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did
So
it.
they had seen me. I went there as a trumpet player for a quote-unquote jazz group.
Boy,
'cause I
did that
played-
stretch.
I had played trumpet all the way through, and these guys said we're going to play jazz, and I knew nothing about jazz. I just get up there, and they go, "Oh my God, he's so good!" I'm like, dude.
I
So
am great.
Yeah.
Thank
like,
you.
No,
Thank you.
no. I'm just playing caca, okay? And they think I'm wonderful. But anyway, I had seen them, and I said, man, those guys are really good. And it kind of revolved. I got into music because in 8th grade, I played football with a guy named Chuck Howard at Hamilton. We got killed. I said, Chuck, he said, there's something better for getting girls than football. I said, he said, let's part a band. I said, yeah, let's do it. That's how I got in.
Hurts
Yeah.
less.
Said you can always have a job if you play bass, and so that's how I got it. Got into the music field as a musician, and I liked it. I grew up with the doo-wop because there were kids living next to me, five girls, and they were at least 5 years older, and they exposed me to all doo-wop and the Elvis and that whole scene. And I wanted to originally play saxophone, but Dad brought home a trumpet for me to play because he was doing books for a pawn shop, and that's what the guy gave him. He said, we have no sax, we got a trumpet. So that's how I got, in the 5th grade, I started playing that.
And now you ended up with a bass.
I ended up with a bass because I knew, someone says, well, what are you going to play? I said, I don't know. What should I play? Well, I play guitar. If you play bass, you always have a job. I went, okay, I'll play bass. So that was it. I knew 2 chords, did not know the 3rd part of the chord, the 5th. I played a lot of, and I'd just start jumping around when it would go to the 5th. 1, 3, 5. I'd just go crazy.
1, 2.
And then I'd go back
1,
to the
3,
1,
1,
3, 1, 3.
3.
Okay, it's going to 5. Okay, I'm going to jump around some more. And you may see some jumping tonight. That may happen.
I don't know if
But-
you ever learned that physical.
And then Jerry was, we needed a drummer at the time. Chuck Howard had played a little bit, and he went kind of wild and crazy. And Steve Headley knew of Jerry, who was living behind him, and he said he was 14 at the time, right, Jerry?
I think so.
Yeah, he was 14. He had a little drum set, and we just started playing from there. We, Mr. Shipley, we would practice for Mr. Shipley of Shipley Donuts. He'd pay us $50 to practice, and we were like, man, I can't believe this is serious. This is back when 23 cents a gallon gasoline, 16 to 23 cents.
That was
got
in my
paid
parents'
Shipley, got paid to
garage.
practice?
We got played to practice, yeah.
That was in my parents' garage.
Yeah.
Golly, I never got paid to
Shipley
practice.
Donuts.
Now, Maybe I skipped past it. When does Sugar on Sunday come into this whole?
We're getting
timeline?
close.
We're getting
You're
close.
getting close. Okay.
We're in the garage at Tommy's house right now.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
my.
So where
Okay.
where did it
I'll
all-
tell you where the transition really happened.
Okay.
After the transition, and we got rid of Scepter, and at that time, because it was becoming a business, and instead of just a lot of fun, and it became like a a total career, we realized that a lot of changes had to be made. So we ended up putting together managerial things, booking things, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Up pretty much up until that point, Larry did a ton of booking for us. He got us probably the bigger jobs than the guys we hired. Larry did a great job.
Larry
But
was our business manager.
He was our business manager. He did a great job. But anyway, to make
This
a long
after-
story
after you
longer.
left? After you left the group? You
No.
Oh, okay.
While he was in the
While he
group.
was in the group.
So what I'm saying, after he left the group and everything, we had to start thinking, okay, who's going to book us? So we ended up with Associated Artists and people like. Well, that was kind of a sister company of Walt's Andrews Studios. So anyway, at Cinema Records and Associated Artists were kind of hand in hand. So that all worked out. And anyway, what happened was by shopping the record, the Splash One and that, and Love Ain't Easy, it drew a lot of attention because it got charted pretty well, even in the national charts. Even those, they were local records, but they were nationally charted. So White Whale is a new record company starting up. They had a few people, like I said, and then they had signed the Turtles, and they had signed a couple other acts, but they were looking for like their I don't know, Cinderella act at the time, or somebody to be their next Cinderella act. Let's put it that way, because the Turtles were already launched, and they were looking for somebody else to launch. So they came and they sent Gary Zeekley was a producer and had done some work with him before. He was just a producer out of California, done tons of people, Jan and Dean, I don't know, just tons of people. You guys know probably
Yellow
more
Balloon.
history. Well, Yellow Balloon, he had done a lot of things like that. So they thought, well, he'd be perfect for them, and so we meet with him, in Houston. He comes to Houston, we meet with him, and he hears me sing and this and that and the other, and he starts charting out what he thought my voice would fit and what the group's sound would fit. And that's what he was kind of doing. And then he kind of took us from kind of a show band to, he was pretty much into, we really have no genre. A lot of people call us garage, psych, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. We don't know what the hell we are. With something. But anyway, Sugar on Sunday actually was written by Tommy James. We did it, and it became a monster hit for us. We sold over 2 million records with it, and our first record we put out actually was a gold record. It became a gold record. That launched us big time. Then it was like, okay, and actually that was one I flew to California by myself. They flew me in the middle of the night. I actually had fever 104 when I did that session, and sang just the lead part. We came back to Texas and did some more parts on it, but that was how that happened. So anyway, from there it was like, okay, White Whale says, well, we got a hit. We got to do an album right away. So you know how that works. So that's how it worked. And then 3 cuts off of the albums. Another one of them called "I'll Hold Out My Hand" became a really big hit for us. Superman became a big hit for us, et cetera, et cetera. My Darkest Hours actually was a pretty good hit. They all charted. So all of those were chart records. So we ended up doing quite well over the years, The problem was we went with, it was me, David, and Sid, Tommy, Oscar, Sid, Tommy, Oscar, and Jerry. We went to California. They said, you have to move to California. And we went, oh. And so at first it was kind of exciting. Oh boy, we get to move to Hollywood. So we moved to Hollywood and we were like, oh, wow, this ain't Texas. You couldn't trust what anybody said. You really had to watch yourself at all times.
They didn't lie unless their lips were moving.
They only lied when their lips were moving. That's true. Well, unless they were writing it.
Yeah.
They did that in a lot of contracts with us, as a matter of fact. So anyway, that ended up being, that's how the conglomeration of that all happened. And then,
It sounds to me like you guys are sensing a little bit of the beginning of the end here too. You guys were getting kind of an icky feeling about this whole thing?
not at that point, no. Because we were still actually putting out hits.
Okay.
I Hold Out My Hand came out. That was our second hit. We were touring. We were doing great. We were getting all the good venues, et cetera, et cetera. Everything was going good for a while. Then, what was happening? I think White Whale, it's kind of under the table, who really knows, but White Whale, I think, got into some financial problems because they overextended themselves like some record companies do, et cetera, et cetera. And then all of a sudden, where are we at, you know? Because they didn't have enough money, we didn't have enough money to record what we needed to record. And as a last-ditch effort, they thought, well, you know what, we need a different sound for the Clique. So because the first hit had been with Tommy, they shipped me to New York to sing Sparkle and Shine and Another Side with Tommy, and Tommy produced it. And then we came back in the group, you know, and that it went okay, but it didn't go really well. It just wasn't what we expected. It wasn't that great of hit, you know. I mean, it was okay. It wasn't a hit. It just wasn't one of Tommy's better songs. I'm not knocking Tommy. It's just that's where we were at the time. It's just a flip of the coin. You never know.
You need to clarify which Tommy. It's not Tommy.
Tommy James.
Tommy James. Excuse me. Yeah. Tommy Pena's a great guy. I'm talking about Tommy James.
Pretty good American.
Tommy James and the Shondells, and you know. So anyway, shortly after that, we decided that okay, we've been using a lot of because in the time, studio musicians. The reason they use studio musicians so much, and the singer, the lead singer, and then using vocals from the band, was because it. You know, actually, I would say money-wise, you know, economically, they could save a ton of money because these guys were so, I mean, like Sugar on Sunday, Leon Russell played keyboards on Sugar on Sunday. Hal Blaine played drums. I mean, there's no better players in the world. They go in there, one take, they're done. You know, they can get their little check from after, and, you know, and it's all done. So, so that's just the way that went. And so after that, we decided we're going to play ourselves.
And we did.
And we did. And we cut the last record that we ever cut on White Whale, and we did the whole thing ourselves and pretty much produced it ourselves. We had one guy named Eric Koch.
Eric Carl.
Eric Carl. Eric Carl. He was a really good guy. He helped with the production, but it was basically us. We arranged it. We did it. You know, everybody in the band had a lot to do with the sound that we would come up with. And we had gone from kind of a light and airy sound to a more of a southern rock sound.
And we were talking about the different
right. Where I'd left it is, like I said, we were at a point where they went from Gary Zeekley as producer, White Whale did, and said, okay, we'll try Tommy James again. I went and did the thing with Tommy James. You know, that didn't work as well as everybody thought, so we thought, well, we'll give it one more shot. And I asked him, I said, look, why don't you let us play the way we play on stage, the way we play as a group? And the way we played as a group was way different than what we played on records. We had a lot more funk and soul to us than what we did on records. So, you know, anyway, with the combined, you know, like Jerry's drumming was unique. Sid's guitar playing was unique. Tommy's bass playing was unique. The person that replaced Oscar when Oscar left the group was a guy named David Jackson, and he had a unique style on a B3. So with those things, and my singing and David's singing and horn playing, and me and David playing horns together, we ended up with a unique sound that we were trying to say, okay, we'll give it one last shot. How do you like this? They loved it, but they ran out of money and they claimed bankruptcy on us. They loved the songs, and actually we kind of did it. You know how you do a test thing and you send it around, and everybody that heard it heard the side said, wow, you know, we put the record out. It did go out and it sold a few, but I mean then there was, I mean, no company, no company, no distribution. You can't sell records you don't have.
What song best exemplifies the earliest core group? What song would you guys relate more to the first five guys?
Probably, well,
That
one song that we're going to do, the Harlem Shuffle, because
Okay.
we did a lot of soul music, we did a lot of dance music like that, local, and that was very popular locally. And we actually picked that song to play because that sort of exemplifies sort of the kind of music that people used to like to hear us play.
Mm-hmm. We call it the national anthem of Southeast Texas.
Okay.
I would say also, we always did a set of Beatles songs. They love to hear us do the Beatles.
Yeah.
We do a full hour of Beatles.
Yeah, and David, I think that's a great point. That's actually, I think, to speak to what Randy was talking about is the group evolve. Well, that's the micro picture. The macro picture was the music business was evolving. The Beatles were coming out. People were looking for different ways of music pleasure, and I mean, the whole industry evolved. So, but we love everybody loved the Beatles.
Yeah, the British invasion was a big influence on everyone here in America, and some of it I thought. I mean, the Beatles. Trust me, I'm one of their biggest fans, and we would actually do Sgt. Pepper's album from front to back without stopping on stage. It was
And in studios.
and in
live.
studios live. We did it on TV on the Larry Kane Show. We did some of the songs on it, but no, really, we were the only band in the world that played live on TV in those days. Nobody played live, but we had it down, and we all loved the Beatles so much that it was like, not that we were trying to emulate them or as much as we loved them, and we liked them so much that we tried to, and we actually sounded like them, and it was amazing. People would tell us that all the time, and that was why we made one whole set of it. It made it easy. We didn't have to come up with something else. So just do the whole album and didn't have to take a break. It's like, what do we do next? Oh, we'll do the next song in the album.
And by the time I joined the group, Randy had called that the Golden Beatle Hour.
Golden
Remember
Beatle
that?
Hour. Yeah. And welcome to the Golden Beatle Hour. High atop uptown, downtown Houston.
And without getting too detailed with the next set of guys that came into the band, let's just call it the middle group. The middle group of guys, what song you're playing tonight best exemplifies kind of that middle era of the Clique?
We're not. What do you do?
With-
Midnight Confessions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say
Gotta Be Free.
like a song like Midnight Confessions. We were actually slated to record that song, and I did what they call a scratch vocal on it, and what they do is like I did a scratch vocal, a couple other people did a scratch vocal, and and then they say and then the sound they wanted, and actually Sid had the right sound. They just didn't ask him to do the scratch vocal. They should have, because he did it better than the Grassroots. We're going to do it tonight on the show. So I would say that exemplifies some of the stuff, the sound that we like to play, right, David?
Right. And
Yeah.
People Gotta Be Free.
People Gotta Be Free. We're going to be playing that tonight too. That's one of our other favorites from that era that the second group played a lot of.
And then when you guys started trying it on your own and saying, hey, look, let us just write our own music, what song tonight best exemplifies that era?
We're not doing any of them.
Oh, you're not? Okay.
No,
Of
we
the songs
were
we're
going
doing.
to. Yeah, huh?
Of the songs we're doing, which is the best one?
Of
you
the
think?
songs we're doing, yes. No, I'm just saying we're not doing any of the ones that we put together after that. The ones that we put out was this version of Memphis that was, in my opinion, just very off the hook. And then an original song called Southbound Wind. We had it slated for the concert, but we ran out of room in the concert. So we just, it's pick and choose.
We are gonna do the song that Larry wrote, Stay
We
By Me.
we are doing Larry's song tonight. Larry, we'll as a group writer, Larry's the guy that wrote the one song that we'll be doing tonight that's been in the group. So
Okay, so that's Stay By Me, right?
Right, and that was the flip side of Splash One.
the flip of Splash One.
Got it. Now we move fast forward.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, before we move that too far forward, just to keep in the timeline,
I can, yeah.
what happened?
Well, what
made
happened
you all
was
go separate ways?
after California and after White Whale, it was like, at that point, we ended up moving to Seattle area. We moved the whole group up to the Seattle area. I had some ties up there, and it seemed like the perfect place. The Northwest was just hopping, and they loved the Clique. They loved, Sugar on Sunday, and all of our hits were #1 on their major stations like KJR and all that. So we had a pretty good in there. We had already played a few genres there, kind of touring around, and then. So we moved up there for a little while, and then we ended up playing a whole bunch of places, all over Canada, British Columbia mostly. Vancouver was they loved us there too. I don't know what it was about that place, but we went there one place, and we had like a 2-week contract. We ended up being there 6 months.
6 months to get rid of it.
6 months to finally get rid of us. They kept going like, you got to stay, and we're going, we're tired.
We had 1 week off.
We had 1 week off in 6 months.
What was touring like back then?
Hell.
I didn't ask you guys that.
Hell. Ask Tommy.
We trained playing. Did we ever use any boats? Yeah, we may have used a boat a time or two.
we used anything, wagons, it didn't matter.
It's nothing like the big old tour buses that you see going down the highway.
No.
Oh, no. I slept on speakers on top of the speakers in the van. going down the highway.
We had a van for a long time, and then
Listen
later
to
on,
Led Zeppelin.
later on after we started having some hits, I bought a brand new Mercury Marquis Brougham station wagon.
Yeah.
And then we bought our own trailer. Ooh, we were hot
We had
stuff.
a, well, first of all, we had a Ford station wagon and,
And a Ford Econoline.
And a Ford Econoline.
And they just petered out on us.
They just kind of gave it up.
Well, let's see, when I left the band, they had about 140,000 on them.
Yeah.
Back then, the 40,000 was the max.
Well, and the original group was all into. These guys were all into muscle cars. We were always trying to outdo each other. That was when the muscle car era came. I had a Mustang. David had a Firebird convertible. What did you have, John?
I had 442.
You had a 442. Yeah.
I had
You
a 67 GTO.
GTO. Cooper.
Because I coppered my brother, Cooper Hawthorne, who started the GTO.
66.
And man, you could come to one of our shows and go to the back parking lot. It looked like a muscle car show back then.
It did. But we went from that to Ford vans and Ford Econolines because we needed to travel together.
In fact, when we were on the road, somebody stole my 66 GTO. I'll never forgive that person.
If you're out there,
Well, we would
he'll get you.
We would do a show somewhere in Houston or wherever, and I would get back to Neyland at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, there was a place called Hughes Food Market, and all of my buddies would be waiting in the parking lot. I'd get back to Neyland, and there'd be 30 muscle cars waiting, and I'd pull in my GTO. These guys were waiting for me. They'd go in my car, and I'd have money in my console, just piling out of money. They would go straight to my car, get all that money out, and count it on the hood of my GTO.
How much money did Bruce make?
How much money did Bruce make tonight?
I remember in Hollywood, Jerry had a Triumph.
Triumph.
Little a yellow,
59.
a yellow Triumph, man, it was cool. We're going down Sunset Boulevard in a yellow Triumph. Up in Beverly Hills, remember that?
I had a little Datsun
a couple of
convertible.
girlfriends in Beverly Hills, and we would go up there,
Oscar had a
hang out.
Oscar got a Corvette, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I had I think it was 67.
67 Corvette. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was with him when we went 120 right by the Astrodome. They just opened up 610, and he said, "Let's see." And I was
What
going,
this'll
"Okay."
do.
It was 120, just coming off of 120. I was like, "I think I'm starting to get scared."
I traded my Mustang for a little sports car convertible, a Datsun at that time, which was a really hot little car, but no room.
And I was the only one that didn't have a muscle car. I had a little Pontiac Le Mans.
Uh-oh.
It's okay,
That's
but
'cause
the
you
way
were-
you drive, you outran all of us.
I have a muscle car now.
You're the business man.
I made up for it.
Yeah, I had a Beetle, a
Yeah,
Volkswagen Beetle.
And
That's
Larry,
what
I didn't have a muscle car. I had a Toyota Corona, which they don't make anymore.
Yeah.
Oscar
good
had
thing.
Oscar had a Corvette.
Yeah, we just said that. Yeah.
Oh man, love that car.
Yeah.
Okay, now we'll fast forward
Is it a GTO?
to
Chevrolet?
why are you why guy?
Why you geezers?
We are.
Boy, was that a Freudian slip?
That's all right, I ride a geezer glide, it's okay.
What's he talking about up there?
Hey,
We are a geezer group. Yes.
The geriatrics.
Yeah, how did we get to the geriatric department? I don't know. Just eating fine food, I guess.
yeah, that's what it was.
What are you guys doing here today? Are you guys
Having
assembled?
fun.
What's going on here today, guys?
We're not sure.
Well, we got to, it's kind of funny, this all started, I thought kind of was a joke, and then
As a Frenchman.
well, it,
No, Jacques, right?
as we kind of got more into it, it was kind of nice to rediscover everybody again. Because in my case, Randy's probably the last one I had seen other than Tommy. And that was 15, 18 years ago minimum.
Yeah.
And the rest of the guys, it's been since 1970, 71 or 2,
Yeah.
depending on the time frame of departure and entrance.
And some of us,
Me too.
I'd never met
beginning,
Larry,
yeah.
not
Golly.
in real,
In
other
real
than
life.
maybe
Never met Larry.
a passing at some point in time, but not knowingly.
Larry had left the group long before these guys came in. So Larry and Cooper had. So they had really not met them. And they both got the opportunity rehearsing for this thing to get to know both these guys, even Cooper. And actually the way this started was actually 2 years ago, Larry?
started 2 years ago.
Yeah, Oscar kind of set this up. He has a friend. You can tell him about that, Oscar, about Freddie Steady.
And Alistair Haley, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a music business attorney in Houston named Alistair Haley who was a pretty famous musician himself. He was with a group called Spirit. And Al and I had done a lot of work through the years together in the music business. And
Al called me one day. I was in the car driving somewhere. I don't even remember where, but he said, "Hey, Oscar, I've got a guy here in my office that would like to meet you and invite you to do something." I said, "Okay, well, let's get him on the line. Let's see what he's got." And so this guy was named Freddie Kirk, who was a Hall of Fame musician. Been inducted because of his drumming that he drummed with Jerry Jeff Walker. And long story short, he said, "Look, I'm got up my own band now. It's called the Freddie Steady Five, and we are doing a lot of old tunes, doing classic records and stuff. That's kind of our genre of what we're doing, and we're wanting to do a cover of Splash One, which was the Clique's first big hit record, and was wondering if that would be okay." And I said, "Well, I'm not the one to ask necessarily, but I'm sure it's okay." And so they recorded that and put it on this new CD that they were going to release. And he told me that they're going to have a CD release party in Austin at a place called the Saxon Pub, which was kind of the home, or it still is, of original kind of music. And said, "Is there any chance that any of the Clique members could maybe come to be part of the festivities of this CD release party on Splash One and this remake of Splash One?" And I said, "Well, sure. I'm sure I can try to get a hold of some of the guys." And of course, at the time, I didn't know if I could or not because there were so many of them scattered. I hadn't even talked to anybody except Bill, because Bill lives in Austin, where I do. But before long, I just started thinking this would be such a great time for us to have a reunion. And maybe in the conversation with this fellow, Freddie, he said, "And by the way, Oscar, if there's any chance you guys could get up and do 2 or 3 songs, that would be great too." And so I just immediately thought, well, this is going to be such a great chance for us after all these years to have a reunion. So I got on the phone and started calling as many people as I could get a hold of to see if they could make it. And let's see who all made it, Randy. You came in from Washington.
I came in from Washington.
And
Larry,
and
Bruce.
I came in from Dallas.
Bruce and Bill and I were in Austin, and because it was a Splash One hit, kind of the original members of the Clique, I just invited kind of the old original members, and so, but it was great. We got up and did a few songs, and we're so honored, that they made us a part of that night. But the biggest and best part of the whole thing was just being able to see everybody again, and from there, that's kind of where this whole thing got started, I think, as far as what we're doing tonight.
So yeah, how did you get the recognition of how does that whole thing work with the Janis Joplin Hall of Fame? How did you
We
guys-
owe that to Jack Ortman.
Jack
Ortman.
Ortman,
The
yeah.
Frenchman, Jacques.
Jacques.
The history
He,
behind the history behind Jack was that when we were playing early on, the original Clique, playing such small venues as the Town Hall and the Groves, Jack Ortman was either a junior high, I think he was in junior high.
Yeah.
He would come and see us. So he was a local boy here in the Port Arthur area, coming to see his favorite group or one of his favorite groups.
Major fan.
Yeah. He was a major fan.
Yep.
Is a major fan.
He is.
And is a major
He has
fan.
more memorabilia about us than we do.
Yeah,
That's
and
a fact.
I had heard from, actually, I knew about Jack about 6 years ago through some blogs, Texas Garage Band blogs, and that type of thing on Yahoo. And I was introduced to him back then, but he was really a fan of the Clique, and he's, I would say, I won't say totally solely, but I gotta say for the lion's share, he's responsible for getting us here today.
He
nominated us.
Yes.
You have to be nominated, and then you have to meet a criteria to make this Hall of Fame.
Old is one of the criteria. We made
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Decrepit, that's number one. Number two is wore out.
There it is.
Yeah.
Now,
Wore
you
thin.
guys, I'm sure some of you, this is the first time you've seen this place.
Yeah.
And some of you have probably been through here maybe once or twice, but walking through here.
Pretty good company.
How does it feel?
Some
How's it
incredible
Feels great.
company.
It feels very good.
Yeah.
And I
We're
think
honored.
We're very, very honored. I think to answer your previous question, in addition to that question, is I think we're all trying to assimilate what we were about all along, and this has given us the opportunity to not only look back, but look to transition it to the present day, and it's been real helpful to kind of revisit that process, and then in the process of doing that, to get back with people that we think that we originally we were in the music business, yeah, but we were doing it with people that we loved, and we love each other to this very day, and this has been very meaningful on a very personal level as well. Not only to get recognized by the Golden Triangle and the museum and our previous fans and friends and family, but to just reunite. It's been so rich for us.
And also to bring our families that when we were in the band, hardly any of us really had families. Now we all have, our families are grown, and all of our families are here, and they're meeting for the first time, you know.
Does it connect families?
Oh.
You've been talking about the Clique for years. So does
Amazing.
this kind of finally put the connection together?
Exactly.
All the stories?
Yeah, like my boys said, Dad, I thought you were lying all these years. This really did happen.
They know him pretty well.
They know me pretty well. We thought that was some of your regular BS. You know, I went, well, no, it's correct.
Well, as a matter of fact,
true.
one of Randy's sons, his name's Spencer, said, you know, when I first saw the album, I looked on the back and Mom told me that was Dad. He says, no way.
I know. I look at his. I told his son yesterday. I said, I once had your dad and I once had waists that big.
We did.
You know, we did.
We both wore 28 waists.
On a more serious note, I think God meant us to get together at this time, and we prayed at practice, and I believe He's answering our prayers. And Proverbs says, "Commit your work unto the Lord, and He will make your plans succeed." So we've committed to the Lord, and all we can look forward to is success. I'm excited about that.
Well, we can't go any farther without talking about somebody who's not here.
Yeah. Right.
You guys got back into rehearsals over a month ago as the musicians part of it, and then you guys got back together, started adding people as people could come in and be available. Throughout this, one of your buddies had cancer, and you guys knew this. You knew he wasn't doing very well. Tell me what that was like to have him back in the studio while you guys were rehearsing the music, and tell me how special that was to have him back over there, even just strumming some chords, just being part of the group.
See, I didn't know Cooper. I got to meet him there.
Either.
And the picture, you look at the pictures through this process, that says it all.
Yeah. I was Cooper's stage mate, and
Well, Cooper was the best man at my wedding, and that was original Clique.
Yep.
Cooper has remained very close friend to me all throughout these years. We see each other, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year. He always stayed at my home, so we've done a lot of things together. So I've maintained a continuous relationship with Cooper for 40 years, and we all feel this. We're saddened that he's not here, but on the other hand, I think we feel blessed that he left us prior to this, because I think everyone might feel this way, but personally I would have felt just a little bit less at ease tonight had Cooper been lingering in the hospital, struggling with this disease, and we are seemingly up there enjoying ourselves and having a good time. Not having him there, having that good time with us, wouldn't have seemed right.
But knowing Cooper the way we all know Cooper would have said, get up there and do it, you know?
That's right.
That was Cooper, 100%. And the one thing that came to me and my wife, we were talking about it right after we heard about it, him going a couple of nights ago, and she goes, well, now he can be there. Otherwise, he would have been chained to that bed, wanting to be there. Now he's a free spirit. Now he's back in the hands of God. He can be there. I mean, he can look down and see this. And that, I think, knowing that will make us play that much better tonight.
we're going to do something tonight in his honor and his tribute, and it comes from all the hearts of this band, and we're going to obviously have a tribute to him tonight, and in the form of a beautiful combination of songs that David's going to start on the flute, Larry's going to continue on the organ with Desperado, and it's going to merge with a beautiful harmony part by these magnificent singers into great, amazing grace. And we're going to say, Cooper, we love you.
The other thing I'd like to say, even though, like I say, Cooper was not in the band at the same time I was in the band, but I really have thought about this. I know prayerfully too that it just seemed like God wanted to take him now, and there's for one very good reason. I mean, we're all here, and these guys that are here that may not have been here otherwise. I mean, and certainly there'll be a memorial service this coming week, I'm sure, and Randy wouldn't have been here, David wouldn't have been here,
Great
so
point.
it's almost like God just had it planned that, you know, it was his time to go, but what a perfect time, because we're all here together to be able to honor him, and so it was meant to be, I guess.
Beautiful point. And to realize we overlapped missing by only 2 weeks, but he had worked hard to be at rehearsal with us. The last two members, Randy and David, were flying in towards the end when the band kind of congealed and got our parts down, and they were going to add the icing to the cake with the vocals. Cooper participated in every ounce of that, and then right at the last moment when the band, not that the band is the end all and be all of all of our lives, but it was important to him and to be with his original brothers and extended brothers, and he gave it a really gallant effort.
Inspiration to everybody. I mean, just the fact that he'd show up and come to rehearsals and do everything. When you know he was not feeling well, he showed up, he had a smile on his face, and he was always ready to work and be a part of everything. So I think it really had a lot to do with us pulling together and trying as hard as we've been trying to, because of his efforts. You know.
What were his, could somebody recall, what did he talk about when he was with you guys those last couple weeks when he was rehearsing with you? What kind of memories did he have of the group? What kind of things were special for him?
I think cars.
Yeah.
You know, to this very day, and I can attribute, when I come and see these guys this very day, I have to wash my car first. And I attribute that to Cooper Hawthorne. Cooper actually taught me how to wash my car properly when we did muscle cars. Don't do this, do this. But to this very day, start at the top and go to the bottom, don't change rags. And to this very day, I wash my car before I do anything that's related to my life, really. And you know, I think it kind of harkens back to the early days that this band was about having fun. And as that grew into making money and then to having cars,
Just a plus.
and then Cooper was the first person in the band to exhibit a little bit of independence. And if we had a job and he had a prom night or a fraternity ATO event, he did not play that event. And thankfully, Bill Black was in the wings as one of Cooper's relatives and knew every note in every song, and it stepped in without an eyelash.
People were slacking, that's all.
And which gave Cooper the autonomy to have his freedom in his life. And ironically, Cooper's not with us tonight, and Bill Black's in his place.
You guys are going to do something really special for him, and we'll just leave it at that.
That's
Yep.
right.
Let
We already talked about
let
that.
play itself out and speak for itself. All right, now we got to talk about the future. What happens now?
Back to work.
Back to work. I'm going back to the farm.
I think we're going to enjoy this, appreciate it, covet it.
I
For
think
what
we'll
it
keep
is.
in touch with each other a lot more now.
But for what it is.
Now we all have each other's cell numbers, so we're going to talk to each other more.
Randy even got a cell phone.
I even bought a cell phone. I had 2 cans of the string before that.
I think it's let us know our really love for each other, and it's been really wonderful sharing that love again.
Playing together did spark anything to try to maybe do something annually, maybe, or something?
We're spread too
Thought
far
about that.
apart.
Yeah.
And we all have very busy lives.
It's
at all
important to
levels.
never say never, but it's highly doubtful.
And I'm not going to be the one to tell my wife I'm going on tour.
You're on tour enough.
This is enough.
No, you're on tour enough with the business you're in.
Yeah, exactly.
Being a great painter, you're always doing a show somewhere.
So how does this memory hold to you guys beyond today than some of the memories you've had in the past? Where does this one stand?
Right at the top.
Oh, yeah.
Right there at the top.
It's high.
That's the
It's a
zenith.
big one.
That's very high.
Yeah, we could all put this right at the top of the chart, I think.
Yeah.
You know, Jerry, our drummer, he's had some problems along the way, physically. And God, I haven't seen you in how many years, Jerry?
It's been since about 71.
Think about that.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
So,
Me too.
yeah.
You know what's been wonderful also, guys, is all this has happened. I've started getting phone calls from dear old friends and really learning for the first time the influence this band had on folks, like people like Fletcher Knight, who's told me touching stories about making money through the music business after Vietnam, and giving tribute to that to these guys as an influence on his life. And we're hearing a lot of wonderful stories of what the impact that we had, and that we had no idea. Had no idea.
Oh, in rehearsal, I'm gonna kick myself if I don't ask you guys this. You guys found out also along the way that you guys were influential musically for some folks too. I think you guys mentioned that during rehearsal. Who were some people that popped up to you and said, "Hey man, I listened to you guys a long time ago, and you guys taught me this"?
Oh man, James Brown just really was influenced by us.
And then there was the Beatles.
Yeah.
When they heard our Beatles set, they went back into the studio and redid Sgt. Pepper. And then there was, we can go on and on, you know, what can I say? Actually, there's a lot of local bands that certainly had that, you know, influence.
How does that make you feel when somebody
Great.
comes to you and says that about? I mean, you're just plowing along, just doing the best you can.
We're getting a lot of things on blogs now that this thing was put out on our MySpace page that said that we were being inducted into this, and a lot of it is, you know, well deserved, etc., and it was because of you. I mean, there was one guy wrote in, he says, you know, music's always been a big part of my life, and and he says, I've collected albums forever and ever, and he's talking about some story where him and his wife were stuck somewhere. They couldn't get out of there. They were visiting a relative, and he went into a record store and bought the Clique album for the first time.
I was trying to think of his name. He showed up.
He showed
Randy
up.
what? The last
Randy
name?
something.
Randy Stroud. Randy Stroud.
Stroud. He showed up
Stroud.
at rehearsal with a lot of things. I mean, this guy knows more about us than I do.
Yeah, he kept following it because of that album. It's just, you don't have any idea how many people you influenced with your music until way down the line. And, you know, like I say, these guys are our age or a little younger. I mean, come on, you get past the old 6-0, you know, you're going like, what did I remember? Oh, well, I can't talk about that.
I think there's something important that we've had to assimilate amongst ourselves, which is really important, and that is we had the original guys that formed the band, and then as a transition to the newer guys, well, as we assimilated ourselves here, the newer clique and what they originally called the old clique, which I asked them politely to refer to as the original clique.
No, I like the old clique.
I
think the old
clique. that
Puts
for all
me
of
and
us.
David in both of them. doesn't it?
Yeah, you're the old
Me and
and
David
the
are
new.
old and the new.
Oh, God, I'm losing my point. You stay there? You were right. I got my point.
Here it comes.
But it's really important for us to realize that we wouldn't be here today were it not for two groups of guys. One, that original group. And when we quit the band, we didn't really think about it. Well, is the clique going to continue or is it going to stop? Truthfully, because of Tommy and Bill and Sid and Oscar, the band was and Jerry, the band was able to continue, which gave it its full life. So the clique, the version of the clique is kind of one family. And that's what I think tonight's about, this museum is about, and it kind of made sense to us finally after 40 years to put that together.
Yeah. We were able to carry on the fact of, you know, getting some big hits and this and that, giving the band national recognition to what it deserved, which it probably would have had with the original group if we had been able to keep going. But
I have no doubt
everybody
about
had,
that,
you know,
yeah.
I have no doubt about that whatsoever. I'm just saying it gave longevity to the group because David and I stayed with the group. I stayed with the group till the end. Actually, I stayed with Tommy and he stayed with me till the end. Bless his heart, the idiot. he stayed with me till about 72. And after that, I had about 2 years of signed contracts, and I actually formed another clique because I had signed contracts under the clique. At that time, we were calling it Randy Shaw and a clique every so often. So it was easy enough transition. But when Tommy left, that was the last of the clique, except for me, of the original group. Well, he wasn't even with the group. I was the last Mohican. So I'm going, okay, last Mohican says, I don't feel like it's a clique anymore.
I knew it was over for me when I used to borrow Randy's socks. And he said, you know, dude, you're going to have to buy your own socks. So I was like,
He said,
I don't know.
he said, that's it, I'm going.
I'm out
he
here.
was gonna say his underwear.
I didn't know what he was going to say.
I didn't either. Knowing Tommy, I had no idea.
That's only because Randy didn't wash his socks.
Are you wearing some today?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm wearing some
Oh,
today.
it's the
Yeah.
first time I've ever seen you inside.
It was over for me when I fell in love with Amy and I was going to move to California, and that's when it was over for me.
It was over for me when I fell in love with Amy too, so I decided Bruce was gonna kill me if I didn't get out of there. No, I'm just kidding you.
All right, rehearsals are rehearsals. Okay, you guys gonna have a big audience out in front of you tonight, first time in God knows how many years. Butterflies right now?
I'm wearing Depends. Actually, two pairs of Depends.
Well, I hope you bought the whole case.
We're all gonna need them.
I have the gray version.
You know,
The gray version.
I thought about this a lot because I probably played less than anybody in this room since we quit playing. And I thought, you know, when this first came up, I thought, oh, you got to be kidding. And then I said, geez, I got to put a guitar together. I didn't have a guitar that I wanted to play. It was sanded, all the electronics are out of it, the whole thing. I had to put it back together. It's like Randy says, it's 2020. You got to see it from 20 feet going 20 miles an hour.
It looks perfect.
But it looks great.
Looks great. It's 2020 guitar.
That's what it is.
But it plays great.
It's playing good, playing all right. But the realization is once upon a time, we really were professionals. The bottom line is that it'll come across, maybe with a few nicks in it, but when it's all said and done, it'll be done.
Yep.
Says being modest, when he picked up his guitar at rehearsal, it's like he never
Yeah.
never missed a beat.
Really?
Everybody's
Counts
ready.
right.
Everybody's ready then.
Yep.
We better be.
It is what it is, but we're proud of it. Everybody put in tons of work long before I got here, and I've been here for 2.5 weeks now. So,
You're gonna make
and it's you guys. I got to tell you, I take my hat off. These guys have just, and they all have super busy lives, and because of this thing and putting it all together and all the coordination, Oscar helped a lot with coordination. Everybody helped with coordination and getting it together. All these rehearsals and making sure they all worked, and everybody giving of their time and Holmes, Larry, Bruce. I got to tell you, my hat's off to all of those guys. And when I got here, it was like, wow, you know, because I was worried. I'll be honest with you. And the reason I was worried because I had kept playing in the business. I keep playing quite a bit. Oscar kept playing in the business, but actually the rest of us, Bill keeps playing, but Bill still plays pretty weekly. But the rest of us, let's be honest.